Okay, we're recording. Cool. All right, and then share, add. Okay, this little diagram is of, um, it's a diagram of the commons, if you will, or of a theory of how to make commons. But I do want to emphasize what Reed said so well, which is that there are many ways of commonsing, and Victor said that as well. What way are we going to commons? And I think there should be a kind of survival of the, not even a survival. There should be an ecology of commonsing that we're familiar with, because if there is no ecology, if there can only be one, then there will be no growth. So the ecology of commonsing is important. So having said that, um, G, the inclusive distance, the dark, or this middle shade of gray and the light shade of gray, think of that as oh, I already have a question. Yes, sir.
So I frequently hear G thrown around in these circles. Could anyone who wants to give me a definition give me a definition so I understand?
I was just jumping into that, sir. Yes. So you could say good. Could say grace. You could say I like the word gang because we're ganging together. We're a group. Um, this is the inclusive distance between everything in our space. Um, I use it for God as well sometimes, although I also, at the top of this diagram, I have HG P and HG C. This means highest God for the group or the commons, and highest group for me personally. Highest G, highest, yeah, God, I guess, is good, or highest good is good. So there's G meaning the everything, because if it can't be good if we don't understand everything and we don't include everything. But good is in the ideal we're pointing at. Okay, I'll shut up and let others talk.
Uh, so I just want to help fulfill the uh, the response, because part of G is that there's no one way to say it, and so one of the best ways to hear G is for multiple people to say their own view on it in their own tongue, and not in a non-competitional way. It's just like, oh yes, and that makes it more inclusive. So part of the origin of G comes from Gödel's incompleteness theorem, if you're familiar with it, that G was a very particular formula that he arrived at in his system of determining what constitutes proof. And it's basically the value of G is the one value in the whole system that is necessarily true, but necessarily unprovable at the same time. And its presence is what gives proofability to the remainder of formal systems that exist, because they all require, like if they're capable of arithmetic, they require other formal systems to proof them. And so this was adapted analogically. The value of G is just something we all agree is necessarily true, but we also agree there's not a formal way of representing it. And so we just come to that. Yeah. So he said God, grace, gather. I would add ground to that. All of those work for me too. That it's like an alliterative variable. G. What different terms can you put in there that work with each other that we can agree upon and find consilience with, while allowing it to be very adaptive so we're not get stuck in a paradigm.
That makes sense. So yeah, so like again, like you could say G is also source in this case. G is also okay, because so I've been talking about Sacred Heart, but to be honest, the core teaching that I haven't really said for me is a lived poetry of the heart, and to me that's a expression of grace. But I'm not sure I need to think about like how would that relate to G when you're kind of saying it can be both grace and it can be God. I would need to kind of think about that. There's one other thing I want to say. So the groups that I used to be a part of, um, there was an overarching principle, which was the notion of highest and best. And I feel like that notion of pursuing what is highest and best as almost like a container seems commensurate to your notion of highest good in this diagram. So just kind of pointing out a convergence of terminology. So I mean, it's almost like, yeah, it's like the same thing. The only other thing I might just add on to that is part of the person relationship, working relationship group was this notion of like even highest and best as we formulated it had its own almost like hidden elitism. And so we say like what we thought was highest and best or highest good can evolve over time. And I guess the G factor would be informing that understanding. So like highest good or highest and best are themselves, when stated, a kind of container that they themselves may hold unwholesome limiting beliefs or something, but still is a useful tool. I don't know. I have thoughts on this because we were kind of engineering a lot of similar things and kind of throwing that out there since, I see highest good and I'm like, oh, well, that clearly to me is similar to highest and best. Like they're just kind of two different ways to say similar things.
Thank you. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me one bit that there would be other people working on this stuff. I think it's, because there's so many of us noticing that there are these issues of distance and of exclusivity that destroys us and divides us. And so I think this is a common problem to play off of what we're already talking about. I do think it's good to include the word aspiration because the good is always so much higher than me that sometimes I can't even see it clearly. And so I'm aiming at it, not arriving at it. It is a continual process. And then up above, I have highest good dash personal and highest good dash common to, again, keep that sacred difference between the personal and the commons. So my highest personal good is likely to be different than the highest common good because they play different roles. It is only a group of people that have an extremely overlapping highest personal good that would fully share a highest common good. And even then, it's not clear that they always do. They have to continuously and constantly triangulate and reposition because they will continuously be learning from each other. If they're not, it's more like, the worst kind of a cult, if you know what I mean. It's just we've arrived and nothing else matters type of ideology. And I think I don't know how to include that is the way. I don't know how to include that kind of ideology into the highest good of lack of growth. If that's somebody's highest personal good, then I want to make a highest common good that can include them, but I don't know how to include it, if you understand the distinction. Include them and their personal view, but not that ideology within the highest common good. So, and then I'll just run through this real briefly. These four colors and their placement are based off of a symbol we use called the icon that I think we talked a little bit about here in past meetings. But the idea is to give an understanding of the different forms that personal and commons can have within a common circle. So if this medium tone gray is the commons that we share together, and this black one is us as a group aspirationally aiming upwards, and this white is all the individuals aspirationally aiming at their personal goods, then these are the four ways in which we as a group interact. The personally personal is a place. Oh, I'm sorry. I got to do something real quick. These are not according to the symbology. They're not located correctly. Something like that. Close enough, I guess. Okay. So the personally personal is where I build my sacred tower, where I build my own crystallized self and develop it and refine it. And so we have a network of towers, a tower network within the commons that we are all pinging off of and all learning from and all contributing to our personal growth. We have the personal commons. This is where I come into the commons with my personal belief and into this hall, into this community, into these meetings in order to share what I've uncovered in life as valuable and the methods I've discovered to aspiring towards the highest good. And I share them and others share theirs. And this is where the personal towers connect, if you will. The common personal is where when we've discovered the things that work commonly, this is where I put them to work, or you put them to work, or we together put them to work, and we build something. This is like a shop of productivity. And finally, the common commons, those things that we have so pared down into a common format. This is like a school. This is where we learn things. In fact, just real quick, I will stop sharing that, and I will share. And I hear that, and I will respond to it in a second. I will share this real quick because this is the school, the shop, the hall, and the tower, which correlate to these 4 sub-elements we've done. Okay. And Ryan.
I'm kind of losing it because as you shared this, I kind of got a sense of like a metafractal where, let's say I'm creating the enchanted song and there's like a fractalization of like, even within the very thing I'm doing, there's the same structure. That aside, I'm just thinking of like, I'll pick a very, very common one, which is the practice of mindfulness. So like mindfulness has penetrated the mainstream culture quite deeply at this point. And I think it's because it is a healthy expression of spiritual practice and like it's a healthy cultural expression. It's not that it's can never harm somebody. I know that that's not true, but like I lost it. Like how this, I'm seeing how the format you're presenting can allow for an iteration of a common tongue, let's say. Like I have all these experimental ideas. I have really fucking crazy ideas that I don't think all of them, like I want, you know what it is? It's like I have a bunch of R&D I want to do. But I know in the pursuit of R&D, a lot of it probably some of it might not want to get to a higher stage because it's not actually a good idea. But I still want to experiment and do that. And what actually gets that, like what gets to the common commons are the safer things, are the things that are like tried and tested, like the safer things. But I still have a bunch of experimental R&D rocket ship that I want to explore out of a personal quest, you could say, but also there's a service component to it. Hold on, like give me a sense. Like okay, I'll go there. So when we talk about religion, if I went to a Catholic priest, I'm not a Catholic, but if I went to a Catholic church, they have a bunch of metaphysics about the nature of soul and the soul's development. I'm not familiar with Judaism, but they have a bunch of nature of soul and soul development. As someone who is a shaman, I have a lot of perceptions and ideas about the nature of soul development and different directions that they can go in. There is a, dare I say, troubled race here. This is my life that I can commune with what is otherwise both a wise but also a troubled race of alien grace who have a novel exploration of soul development that I believe has some utility and benefit for the human race, but also could be dangerous. And so can I speak out loud that I have an exploration of very high dimensional, like reincarnational art and science that I'm not sure I want to explore? I think there's something there, but it could be dangerous. So how do I talk about that? That's for like really, that's not, I don't think it's common stuff, but I do want to explore that. And like, I guess I'm talking about the nature of soul development here. So you're talking about a common religion. I'm talking about, I'm on planet Earth. I'm a shaman. I'm aware that there are multiple dimensionalities of soul development that I don't think people are aware of, that you could do. You could do these things, and like, that's not new. That like, I'll wrap up very shortly here, but like, if you were to join the Vajrayana Buddhist, the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, and you were to learn from the Book of the Dead, they have a lot to say about what your next life might be. Very actively, you can choose, how you want to develop beyond this scope of this lifetime. It is well within the purview of a religion to talk about the nature of your soul's trajectory. And so I don't think you can talk about common religion, not start to talk about, hey, what about your next life? Hey, what about your previous lives? What if, quote unquote, time's an illusion? And you can opt, like, I know, I can share these kinds of weird thoughts, but these are kind of like high, like research and development explorations of like your soul's pathway and trajectory and development, the buffet of options that are available to us in this lifetime on planet Earth, and to metabolize this into like the notion of spiritual renaissance, where we can start having a big discussion about like the nature of soul and the opportunity a human lifetime presents, and so on and so on. Like, these are the questions I'm wrestling with, and I think are relevant to not only a common religion, but how do I fit that weird shit into all this? So sorry if that's a little bit verbose, but hopefully some of that.
Reed, do you want to shoot at that since you got your hand up?
I do. For me, what a common religion, one of the things it affords that excites me is that it provides a pretty hard barrier of entry to like even start participating in it. And that has been mentioned by Matthew as like numero uno principolo of humility, of like, oh, wait a second, gosh, I am ignorant first. Oh my goodness, gosh, the mystery precedes me. The mystery supersedes me and my stories and my practices and my felt experiences. I cannot contain the mystery. Hard bar. That excites me a lot, because all of the practitioners who are like, oh, we are the hard bar, oh, wait, so you've contained the mystery. Oh, cool. Fucking show me, bro. Step in and be it here, clearly, under pressure, because guess what? You will be making claims like that openly and transparently, that, oh my goodness, show me. Oh, wait, you can't show me most of what you're talking about. That what we know is that as beings here in bodies, we have very complex imaginations. Much of that's imaginal, i.e. it's a part of our authentic being. Even though it's past what we can sense and see, it's real shit. A lot of it's imaginary, And so what I also, in my personal experience, know is that you can't always parse the two. You can't always say, well, this is clearly imaginal and that's clearly imaginary, because they are so linked and embedded that part of the truth is partially imaginary at all times for all beings, is what I would say. And so this is Maya, right? So sorry, I get excited because I want to walk through that with other people. I want to, like, I have claims, but I want to be held accountable for these. I want mine to be like practically not objective science evidenceable, but if I'm a willing engager, like show me and bring me there. And if your statement is, well, you just do these practices in these ways for this amount of time, I'm like, okay, so I can do that category of practices in these different ways for that amount of time that doesn't walk the exact same steps. It's not kata for martial art, it has fluidity and dynamicism. So I'm doing the same thing, right? So what makes it special? So I'm sorry, I'm going at length, because it's that gathering for the art of game that excites me, but it's founded upon humility, that, yeah, we can acknowledge all of those things you said openly and willfully and playfully and joyfully, and like, I'm game. As a player, I'm game. But this game is real, and it's here, it's present, and there's danger to it. And so when you spoke of that, I'm like, yeah, for me, in the path, you said shaman. I would say in many other ways, but at times I've said it for myself, shaman. Like, but I look at others and I see them walking a very similar path and they don't call it that. But I'm just like, yep, I see you do what you do, that in this, the tool can turn to weapon at any time and often does. And so, like, yeah, danger in what you share, danger in what you represent, danger in what you tell others they should do with their soul. Again, danger in telling others what to do with their soul. And so I'm sorry, I'm not saying this at you. I'm saying this at a paradigm that I'm reactionary to. And that's why I long for this common religion, is where people can discover that the self in relation to G, but can do so Sangha-esque in community, like, and support and reinforce. And I must stop. I see Victor doing facey stuff. Okay. But I get passionate about the subject.
I love it. I love your passion, brother. I want to jump back to this real quick because you mentioned fractal, that there's a fractal nature here. You can see that this includes itself. This symbol here is the overall arching symbol. And the hall is this, plus shape in the middle, but infinitely regressing. So we have an infinite egress. It keeps going out. We have an infinite ingress, or help me out, Reed. Regress. There it is.
No, it's actually an ingress. A regress is linear, like you are
Okay.
regressively. An ingress.
Okay. Okay. So then this is this is a forward momentum. It's a step by step by step. And this is a stack. This is, if you imagine playing a game of this and you fill that in with it. You play another game on this board, you fill it in there. Play another game in there, you fill it in there, and you keep stacking. These are the experiences and the way they compress and interconnect. So we were trying to include every modality of human experience into a single symbol. It works okay. It works pretty good. We like it. Could it be better? Absolutely. We don't know how, though, but it could be better. So now that I feel like I've sufficiently spoken about a commons, because again, that's what I was saying. Before you get to religion, you have to get to the commons. I would say this is totally. Oh,
I just want to note that Ryan has had his hand up.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
I'm split because I feel like the conversational thread wants to move forward, but I still have some more thoughts. I loved what you shared, Reed, and I'm not trying to butter your buns, but like, you have very beautiful prose, so yeah, I'll try and be reading the speech here. Give me a second. I appreciate the candidness by which you're willing to call out bullshit, because the way I'll try and be lean. There's so much you could say just about that kind of branch of the conversation we just had. But I appreciate that, because I could be wrong. I could be exploring a dead end. And it's some really personal stuff. I'll just say this. Sorry, my thoughts are garbled here. But I think, just to briefly summarize, like, I presented that, like, there are many different kinds of soul development, but why can't a common tongue just simply say, well, that's literally just an extension of, we're all walking our own unique path. So it's already inherently true that the nature of your soul development isn't, if you were astral scientists and like you could like zoom in, then already it's true that you don't quite have the same trajectory anyways, and you're just making conscious what's in a sense already present. But speaking to truth, that like, maybe the takeaway is like, there are many branches of possibility, and just to say concretely that there is one that is for everybody, or one that's superior, it gets into kind of dangerous territory.
What does the cup tell us?
Cup tell us
about IDOS? What does the cup tell us about G, about source? That yeah, there is one, but it's really better to think of it as none, because you can't grasp it in any graspable form whatsoever. So don't bother trying, or be cognizant that your art is not it, and don't worship any artifact as if it were the mystery, but worship the mystery through any artifact. There works to worship it. And furthermore, if everyone's walking their unique path, which I do agree with 101%, I think of this in terms of IDOS again. Well, that means there's, right, if it's self-similar on the bottom and the top fractally, that all unique paths are just the one unique path. And the many quote unquote imperfect manifestations of the one perfect path that is made perfect through all manifestations of it being in relationship.
Yeah. This wasn't originally what I had my hands up for, but one thing I've been kind of, it's an unnecessary struggle. I mean, but like, is this notion of when I try and say, okay, what is the Enchanted Song about? I'm just like, man, this is like the same shit everyone else is doing. And then like, you disagree?
I do. I fundamentally disagree. You're walking your own unique path. It is a manifestation of the perfect path. Thus, it is perfect in relation to other paths that are different than it. It is. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how else to say that. Like, you're doing an absolute unique thing that will not exist in the universe in any other way, and it has the opportunity to have. No, it has a fact that will have far cascading effect. And you have the opportunity to find coherence in your art while alive so that you have an idea of what that might be, right?
Yeah.
That's what's there. Like, so I disagree about you doing what everyone else is doing. You're not. You're fucking Ryan Fairylight. Fuck out of here.
Okay. I think I kind of am tracking what you're saying. It's like the freshness and aliveness by which yes, there are certainly symmetries there, and that's probably a good sign because I'm saying like love your neighbor. I'm not saying go, hurt people or something. Like the depth of the commonality, like relationality ethics. But I think I am at completeness now with whatever that branch was. So. Matthew, if you want to kind of keep moving forward with the discussion.
Thank you for your patience, Matthew.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh my gosh, guys, that was beautiful. I loved it, and I'm so grateful for it. So this is a delight. So I am at a little bit of an impasse because I think what I just laid out is the thing that I was most hungry to see embodied for a common religion, first and foremost. After that, we're just having fun. We're just getting to figure out how we can find all the cool discoveries of how our religions overlap in this playful arena of commonality. And it's like all you almost have to do is figure out what the commons look like and make sure it is completely inclusive. And once you've done that, you get to have a party about whatever religion there is. And to me, that party is the common religion. So I guess I did have a place to go with this next. Go ahead, Ryan.
There's a notion that I sometimes hear. Actually, I have to credit Vincent Horn for talking to this dynamic. So I just want to throw it up. I think it's relevant. Is this idea that inherent to being inclusive is also an exclusivity, meaning like by definition of trying to include whatever wavelength or set you're trying to include, implicit to that tends to be, if you're not paying attention, like a denial or hidden exclusivity. I guess I want to speak to that pattern when we talk about trying to be inclusive to everything. Like, I think there is a wisdom there is what I'm saying.
I have an immediate response that arises within me. There's a phrase that's like a banner in my mind. It says, any all-inclusive system, the very first thing it includes is exclusion. It must to be able, right? That's differentiation and inclusion, right? To include means something's excluded. The very first thing it does is say, well, you're excluded, now you're not. So, and that's at its core to be unique, you must be exclusive.
Yeah, maybe to speak to the commons and building a commons here is like at some point you have to make a stand and stand for something. You know,
Yes.
like
HGC up there and then the P.
Yep. Yep. There they both are.
Yep.
They're included.
And we arrive at that together.
we're okay. I want to pause. Can you restate that? That felt incredibly important. I want to just kind of see if there's something that more that wants to emerge. So we just kind of, we just talked about like inclusivity, engendering exclusivity, and then you said like G. Can you expand on that, Reed?
So the very first thing was a noticing of just how inclusivity works and the generalizing of it into a principle. Like, well, if you're trying to be all inclusive, the very first thing you are isn't doing is excluding things. So you have to kind of build based on that principle. And in it, when I believe the question or the inquiry space was towards, well, then how are you forging common artifacts of inclusivity that are founded on exclusive foundations? And point to, well, the HGP is the highest good personal. It's like, well, that's it. Like, to have the highest good personal, we must be exclusive from each other. Otherwise, it's not available to us on a personal level. And that the opportunity that's being afforded is to come to this highest good common through consilience and agreement, but also disagreement and discord, but good faith in working through that, and resilience that is built through that. And then there's a platform, the highest good common. It's a platform for the upliftment of all the highest good personal that are within it, that are by nature exclusionary in their unique individuality, but are uplifted as a collective throughout their common features of integrated being.
I have to say, in hearing you talk about this, I think one of the mistakes that the groups I was in is they didn't make a distinction between highest good personal and highest good common, or highest group, or highest good group would be another way to say it. I don't think that was.
They thought their personal was the group. They're like,
Yeah,
this is what is for all people.
yeah, no, definitely. That's
But
Yeah.
yeah.
And see, once you make that distinction, that's why I think it was so important to begin from the position of the commons is that which is commons and only that. That creates the two sacred spaces, that of the individual and that of the commons, in which the tower of the individuals all come together and can negotiate what the commons look like so that they can all keep aiming towards their G, towards their highest good. And I think it's important to note that there's different types of commons. There's a pure commons. That's that which we all completely and utterly agree with. Those are the most beautiful times when we can come to those, at least in my mind. But there's also a negotiated one. It's when they're like, well, my commons and your commons are almost incompatible, buddy. You know, I want you to wear a burqa and you don't want to. Well, now we've got to have a negotiation going on so that we can figure out how to keep the commons alive, so that the commons between, you know, a Muslim and a Christian woman, per se, something like that, it can survive. Another is a defined. And the defined is to say something like, this is how I define my highest common or my personal good. This is my religion. And then when I put that in to the personal commons, you know, put that out into the commons, then just like Reed was saying, okay, let's put our dukes up and let's test this thing. Let's see if this works. Let's see if this is really as beefy as you think it is. Then as I go through that process with you, then my defined personal commons my defined personal highest good can actually be reshaped and rebuilt. It's happened historically. Religions, when they encounter each other, always change. They might say that they're staying the exact same, but they're actually adding layers every time they have an argument with a person of another religion, that kind of thing. And sometimes they completely shift altogether. So to have a defined commons is to come to the understanding of who I am better as I define who I am into the common space, something like that.
I have some interjections that, so we're speaking, in very abstract terms here. And, there's a presentation of like, the liminal commons is a theory of change, and at least as I hear it, pretty implied to be very big changes. And I wonder, how does this, maybe I'm trying to track this maybe a bit back to Earth, which, we live on this planet where, I would say statistically, more than half of the planet identifies as either Christian or Muslim. And although many of those people are more casual, like, I just wonder, like, how is like the work here at all interrelated to that? And like, how does that all play out? If you're offering like new ways of living and being in emergent religion, like, how does that come to, if it does at all, speak to kind of where most people are at? Like, how, like, is that too, I'm wondering, maybe the quiet part speaking out loud might be like, is this too divorced from the practical concerns of the human race? I don't think this isn't like, not like, this is a very simple and understandable system, but like the work we're doing more generally here, like, how does that tie back into that, if it does? I don't know, I just feel like there might be something worth exploring there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would say, as I said before, that maybe the common religion is the plane of this game. I mean, if you think of this as a game board, this thing that I've been talking about, that's the way I think of it. So I try to make it personal, as grounded as possible. When I talk about it, of course, it's hard to see, well, how does that actually work, Matthew? But to me, it's like the first part of entering into a common religion is to agree on some basis of how we do that. And this here is my suggestion of how to do that. I'm not saying that there's not better ones. I just don't know them yet. And
Right.
so what I'm interested in doing, actually very passionately, just to put myself out there some, I'm what you could call a kind of crazy conservative Christian in some ways, because I go to a church that speaks in tongues and loves. I don't think we have too many Trump supporters. I must say I'm grateful for, but there is a lot of people that were motivated by what's the guy's name? Something Kirk,
Charlie
his
Kirk?
death. Yeah, Charlie Kirk. I run a home group. I've been on 2 different missions trips, to one to an orphanage in Guatemala, one to a slum in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro. And I am all in, baby. I am all in for Jesus Christ. But as I stare into the face of Christ with an unveiled face, meaning I try to get all the things I would hide my own psyche from God and from myself, as I rip that veil away and try to let God see me fully, there are things that come up in me. And the thing that has come up in me the most is, how can I love other people? Not how can I judge them, not how can I condemn them, how can I actually help them aim towards God, whatever that looks like. Because I have no fear that my God won't reign supreme. Now, maybe he won't. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm not afraid of that outcome. I'm just not going to worry about that. And I think that's why religion goes sour, is that fear. And so I would say, let's fearlessly jump into the game and just start having negotiation. Whatever, there's this concept in Alcoholics Anonymous sometimes called the top plate, And the idea is, there's these stacks of plate you sometimes see at buffets. Not that I've been in a buffet forever, but it's just this spring-loaded stack of plates that they have at the buffet line, and you pull a plate off, and another one pops up. You pull a plate off, another one pops up. And so the question is, in whatever small group is playing this game, because it can't happen universally, right? That's an abstraction. It has to happen in some kind of a small group format, and then the small group formats create an artifact, and that artifact is reviewed by other groups. That's the way I envision it, at least. Different circles producing different artifacts, which are then looked at by other circles. And as artifact after artifact is compiled and integrated from people all over the world, then suddenly the game is being played everywhere, and everybody is figuring out how the commons looks. Okay, I feel like there was something I glossed over that I meant to say, but that's okay. I'm going to bow to Reed.
So I'm going to say this as a tacking on to the description that Matthew just gave. And so this is and it's aimed at the question about like how to, in a more immediate sense, begin to address these real world practical issues that exists. Well, the question was aimed at the Abrahamic religions, like the schism, so to speak, there between the Muslim and the Christian, and the way that translates into war, basically, and to hatred and to violence. And I have a line. It's a line of poetry. I have a lot of these things, but they sum up my position on like whole areas of thing. You can't turn the tide, but you can hold your ground. But as long as that lasts, that's something good. So what are we going to do about the practical issues that plague the globe about these major historical religions? Fuck it. I have no fucking clue what this is going to do to address those things. Who is going to address those things directly? That this is an opportunity for those who care to hold their ground. This is a tool to be put in the hand of shamanic or just people on the path that could turn into a weapon in their using of it to go forward into the world and to seek to bridge the divide in local presence, to offer opportunity for the parties at war to come to consilience. And like, here we go. I'm with you. I'm offering this meta point of alignment. It's an opportunity. So, but that's holding the ground. Will it turn the tide? I don't know, but it'll be good for as long as it lasts, or it'll be good for the people who do find consilience, that are plugging in, that do want to cross that divide. And it's part of the, for me, the calling of what in my personal lexicon I call the war priest. That is a role within this emergent common religion that I see as an individual who holds the common religion as their thing, like it itself, not necessarily a sacred personal within it, but the upliftment of it being present. And they venture forth into the war. And instead of going to say, prove me wrong or change my mind, say, hi, who are you? Tell me about yourself. That's interesting. Cool. I like that. The way I do it seems similar in this way. What do you think? Oh, you disagree? Tell me why. All right. That's the idea. But sometimes it'll be super fucking dangerous because there's violence and like the world's at war. People are dying. People die.
Oof. A lot to say there. I'll pick on Christianity because it's the world's largest religion, and there's a lot to say about it, obviously. I'll speak for myself. Like, let me think about this, how I want to say this. So we're talking about healing the world and bringing the world to a better place. We're in crisis. And you can pick on Christianity, and I want to try and be mindful of my speech here. But to my mind, mainline, like I'll just say it bluntly, like Christianity is a beautiful religion in a lot of ways, but to my senses, is the heart of Christianity is its confusion around the metaphysics of hypostatic union, meaning mainline Christianity is the definition that Jesus Christ was the one person, one begotten Son of blah blah blah, God, and da 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 da. Whereas, like for me, as a mystic and a shaman, I look at that and say, well, that's confusion, and that really hypostatic union speaks to us all, and we are all the sons and daughters and just of the one infinite create of God, and that, you know, I guess I'm taking an Islamic interpretation here that Jesus was a prophet more than he was the only, like we're all of us. That's logically obvious and mystically salient. And so, like, I guess what I'm saying is, like, okay, we want to talk big game about change. I don't see how Christianity doesn't either go away or shift its core metaphysics, which would be complete heresy to say that we are all Jesus Christ, that we are all, like, I know Christian mystics get that, and I'm sure, Matthew, you have a lot to say on this, but, like, I just wonder, like, I can't foresee, for just to pick Christianity specifically, how there's just no way we can come to a healthier understanding as a species without saying hypostatic union is actually fucking real. Angels are actually fucking real. You can commune with Christ through spirit. That's all real, actually. But, like, at the same time, the core heart of Christianity is wrong. And I don't know how else to bluntly say that. But, like, I can't imagine in 5,000 years, I hope within 5,000 years, that the human race comes to an agreement and heals and moves through that, or sees the irony, not the irony, but that's important. Like, that conversation is important if we're going to be mystics and stewards and change makers and offer metaphysics. And you can't not say that. I can't not say that. It's not, I believe that. There was actually another thing I was going to say, which I know what I just said was a huge can of worms. So I'll try to be really quick with this one, which is, like, artifacts, which is, like, there's an artifact called lucid awareness that comes from a place called Lemuria. And Lemuria is kind of like a mystical new agey idea. I'm still in the air of, like, what Lemuria really is. But, like, to me, Lemuria was the Garden of Eden, and we have this collective shamanic mystical path. Like, there's so many things. Like, where does that fit into a common religion? You hear people talk about Atlantis, and people think that's retarded. But, like, there's, to my shamanic senses, like, are there? You know, where do these fit into that? So there's a lot to say in terms of, like, oh, I have artifacts called lucid awareness that comes from shamanic healing in my past lives in Lemuria. How do I speak to truth to that? Because I can give you, everyone in this group, the attainment of lucid awareness, and that might deepen your own enlightenment journey, you know. And so I don't know, there's things about artifacts, but I know I just said a lot about Christianity, so I know Matthew and Reedy probably have a lot to say about that. So I'll thread the artifact thing for beyond that, the Christian thread.
I would want to take note of every point you made. Most emphatically, you're like, well, if this is a commons religions place, I can say whatever the fuck I want if I believe it. Like, yep, right there at the front. Fuck yeah, yes you can, and that we gotta treat it like with genuine respect and attentiveness. I'm not a Christian, and I do have my own religion, and I do have a hard bar with entering a common religion for me, and that is that humility thing. And so that's like, well, I might be wrong, but so too might all they be wrong. And for them to get in, they got to start fucking admitting it in front of me, right? They got to be able to admit it. And so they got to be open to critique is what they're saying by admitting it, saying, well, I am open to being engaged in this way. And I also would like to make a discernment between referencing the abstract class that is Christianity and referencing Christian culture and referencing the many local instances of Christian community. and then the much more instances of Christian individual, and say, well, these are different layers of the abstract class of Christianity, and there is one isomorphism to them, and that is Jesus Christ. And other than that, there are not isomorphisms. That there are localities of isomorphism, denominations, and different practices in that. And so to look at the problems of Christianity is more to look at the ways in which the relationship with Jesus Christ is manifesting these different localities that have been organized into these different structures, and the way that that is cascading, but also how historically it has done so, and the trajectory moving forward. And then to look at the lens of, say, the Trinity, to me, it's on the same level as Sacred Heart. It's like, well, it walked in the door of the hard bar, like it's open season on believing it as well as critiquing it. And so I respect them believing it, even if I critique it. And so I'm not going to try to undermine it out of the circle, is the point, that I'm going to critique it openly. I'm going to maintain a relationship with it. But I also see congruent pattern matching between the Trinity, which in my understanding of the Trinity directly states there's a higher mystery here that we cannot encapsulate, but we're gonna say it like this. We're gonna say Father, Son, Holy Spirit, so that we can provide a very stable symbol that can endure, because that to them, that is the three fundamental units by which the mystery is accessed. That is the gate. And so in that, little Christian, like all manifestations of the higher form in lower form, and all beings are available to be that at base. And so have the parts should they invoke the name and walk the path. And so would be basically very similar to what I heard you to say, that we're all that. and that the nuance here would be, I think, would say, well, Christianity says, well, there's this very specific key to decrypt the path, and it's called Jesus Christ. That's how you access the Father, and that through that you gain relationship with the Holy Spirit. And there it go. and that becomes the paradigm. But it's still built off the same ingredients from my outside observation of both of you. I'll stop there. I just wanted to offer that because I welcome all, and I love the engagement.
I love it. Okay. So I would want to first emphasize that the sacred practice of the common religion is the discovery of commonality, and how the personal and the commons is in conflict and in complementation, how they complement each other, how they also disagree. So you're bringing in I don't understand how this commons is going to work if there's a religion out there that doesn't seem to agree with what is fundamentally my way of seeing the world, because we don't have that common. We don't have that view of the hypostatic union as being a obvious philosophical, I can't remember the words you used, but I don't see it that way. In fact, I see quite the opposite. I see that for anyone to even hope to aim at a highest good, the highest good itself has to come down as a man and give itself completely to us, utterly give us to us, wash us completely into a new being, so that we are so in love with it that we can't help but continue to aim at it. That's the only way the highest good comes down. And that's what it means to be a branch on the vine. And that's what it means to be a light on a hill and salt on the earth, to give flavor to it, to give illumination. And so I welcome and celebrate, as a part of the common religion, the sacred practice of challenging the belief I just stated, as you did. And that is why I think this version of a common religion works, because it honors these challenges, and it honors any variation that wants to come in to the game, onto the game board. Go ahead, Ryan.
I think my mind is overloaded right now. There's so much going on. Like I can't even speak because there's too much going on for me right now. Oh my gosh. You know, I had a little bit of a rant on Christianity. I have to say, so my friend Ben, who was, I don't know if Matthew, he showed up for one of these Stewart circles. I don't know if you met him, if you were there when he came, but he was an atheist. And I kind of shifted him away from being an atheist by introducing him to my angel, Alethea, who is the Queen of Elfland. And he had some very profound experiences with that. And these days, he actually, even though he was like a card-carrying atheist, and I used to be a new atheist myself, you know, he actually goes to church now. He goes to church with a gay pastor who wears rainbow, LGBTQ robes, and that speaks to him. So, you know, very clearly in my own personal life in Minnesota, I see, you know, these, you know, reinventions of Christianity, and I think in just having shared that, I'm actually not that educated on Christianity. Like I'm speaking a little bit outside of my depth, and I want to acknowledge that. But I mean, even the Sacred Heart, low key, I was going to call it the Sacred Heart of Christ. It's actually it's like a transmission on Christ consciousness. So like even like the Enchanted Song, it touches on Christianity. So, but I don't know. Maybe to keep it salient, or is it on point? I mean, like, I guess I can appreciate that, like, a common religion as you're expressing it here. You know, you can enter into that common religion and share your belief, your thoughts, your beliefs on like the truth. And in this case, the metaphysics of reality, and I dare say, in your case, Matthew, like a theory of change of I can't quite put it into words, but like a theory of change of like the divine through an individual or a man to enact and encode the templates of the I can't quite capture what, if maybe I don't fully understand what you're saying, but like a man embodying certain principles or the divine light or whatever, and then like is the template by which that washes into the world. But to me, that's just like, that's what a good leader is, or a good role model is. And I don't think any one particular person is it's limited one person, but anyone who draws down that light, and everyone is, to me, everyone is. It's like I know everyone's kind of doing it, but I don't know. That's me ranting. That's me ranting. But yeah. I don't. I'm complete. I'm complete for right now.
I had a thing, but I forgot the thing. If it comes back, I will return to it. I like where this is moving. I guess I'll say that. I like the motion within the container. I feel a lot of consilience with that motion. Oh, yeah, actually, I remembered it. So I'm going to hop back in and say it really quick. Ryan had said a thing. He was like, oh, well, at one point I was going to call it the Sacred Heart of Jesus because I had made this association. I was like, bink. Gosh, in my personal religion, Ain Ra Shah, the ultimate, I call the sacred flame. And the sacred flame, for a while, I associated with the name of Jesus. And then I learned to differentiate that I was not doing that. I was doing a weapon instead of a tool, and I was misusing a name. And because names are very important to me at this category, so I differentiated. Like, well, I'm recognizing that I see in the shape of my soul a category for a name, it goes right there. And it's so important to gain access to the sacred flame and to hold that relationship with G through that. And in seeing Jesus, I associated over time, I learned that I would either have to stop saying that, or I would have to take the true route and walk the mountain. Like go to humble to the foot of well, for me it would start, I guess, with the book, and then it would emerge into a relationship in the context. And so I couldn't say things like without that in that way. And so for me, that is an acknowledgement of a strong maybe. The fact that I associated that at any point in time whatsoever as like a strong maybe for the category, the name of Jesus, that for now I have a placeholder of Ein Ra Shah. And this gets me in the door with Christians on my book, and like how I can relate to Christians and have a full faith in their strong maybe. and look at all the reasons why with like an open heart. And I just wanted to note for that. I think that could just be a feature of the space for people, that Christianity can come here, or say the representatives of Christianity who align with the space can come here and can represent Christianity in terms of being little Christians to the best degree of their ability, and in the representation thereof offer people like myself who are walking a mountain to see, like, well, is this mountain the same mountain, or is it actually a fundamentally different mountain? Is maybe the other mountain the mountain for me to walk? Like, or is my mountain the mountain for me, you know? Like, because I'm offering that to other people too. Say, well, here's a mountain, you know? And I'd say this mountain's different than these other mountains in these ways. And I will show you in person, in perpetuity, through a relationship, with practical predictions about results, if approached in the way that the path necessarily prescribes, as detailed by the topology of the mountain and the territory it transverses. You know, I'll walk it and I'll show my mountain, but I'm also open to it being the wrong mountain. It's about a mountain range, though, in my book. It's like the whole thing. All right, show me your art. It's a player, I'm game.
Or towers.
Mm-hmm. I didn't realize I had my hand up, but I do actually have thoughts. I'll try and keep them brief because I know Victor and Matthew both want to share stuff. Just the shit that I had, and it felt like I had a kind of salience with my guides, is like, I'm a guide up a particular side of the mountain. I know that's really cliche and almost banal to this group, but like, I haven't traversed the whole entire mountain, but I am traversing my part of the mountain. And as a Sherpa for that part of the mountain, I can speak to integrity about that part of the mountain. But could I? I don't think I could like traverse the whole entire mountain and all of its sides as one individual. I can just speak to the specialization of the part of the mountain I'm like careening up. And also on the topic of Christianity, like, if I'm hearing you read, like, you said, like, if you call it that, then you have to become an expert in that. And also, like, maybe to me also, like, I have...
Not an expert, but understand what it means in a lived way. It's not about the letter of the book. It's about the spirit of the book, what it offers as a way there. In my eyes, I don't, you know, I'm an outsider though. That's just my perspective.
I think I understand what you're saying. But I think like, I'm building this thing, the Enchanted Sangha, like it speaks to, you know, I can do it right now. Like I can inhabit, I really should do this more often. Fairy Christ consciousness, like fairy Christ consciousness as a modality of being is something like that's, I would say, even core to my lineage. But at the same time, like, do I want to call what I am like Christian? Because I'm not one currently. I don't, you know, I don't identify as a Christian in this mainline sense, I guess. I don't know. I need to think about that. Um, I'm complete. I'm complete.
Mm. Yeah. Well, I raised my hand for a few reasons. One is like I've been kind of partially paying attention, but not mostly. And what I've heard, like I've really appreciated. Uh, and like the what I see on screen, like I find really resonant, uh, and yeah, and beautiful. Like I've been holding an inquiry of my own that intuits a pathway through commons to sort of individual or personal, like, growth and offerings and like, expanded showing up in the world, right? And like I see that kind of reflected here. So it feels, yeah, conciliant and generative. And like I appreciate that. Um, I uh, There was another thing that was said, and like I'm gonna try to respond, like give some statements that will help me feel complete about it. So uh there's a place in me that I recognize as like perfectionist, and that would like hold me back from participating, right, in this cycle because of, these concerns of like, you know, imagining other people's expectations, or like really just sort of, my own expectations projected on, you know projected outward, and then would prevent me from showing up. But like this notion of you know uh in like Christian verbiage, like, you know Jesus or God being within all of us, or all of us, like, you know um having a relationship, with Jesus, and that I take that to be like, similar to the way you guys hold G in like pointing in a direction, and like the aim being to, learn how I can attune to know when what's in that direction, and to feel in the moment like guided in that direction, right? um, and that like, the journey is sort of that sort of transpersonal, and also like the unique me that's participating in it, and that no one else is going to be, you know manifesting in that direction, you know like me. And part of it's getting out of the way, part of it's like allowing to be led, part of it's, develop the working from where I am, like, I don't know. So all this stuff. So I feel like the container's been really rich, Matthew. Thank you for holding it. And I look forward to participating, more deeply in subsequent such containers. And I need to go, but I will
Well,
wait and hear
Victor,
from Matthew before I do.
I'm I'm so grateful. I'm very grateful for that. um, I think. Let me check my notes real quick. Actually, um, I guess I do want to respond very quickly to the using of another religion's sacred symbols. I think that's inevitable, but I do tend to believe that just by nature of the respect and humility that this model of the commons suggests, that there would be at least some degree of negotiation and defining of how what we mean by those symbols, to make sure those are clear and such like that. Yeah, Victor.
Oh, I was just going to offer that, like, one of the something happened for me like a couple of weeks ago, wherein like I was, walking and processing, and deciding that, like, well, sure, I could communicate, my my relationship to G, using a Christian language, and like be fine with it. Where previously, like, that wouldn't have been the case. I would have felt sort of like suddenly as if like, my participation in my own, with the divine would have been sort of like overshadowed and colored and like made subservient to like someone else's conceptualization of it and like um but these days like I'm okay like I feel like an okayness with like seeing seeing my own relationship reflected on like other people's relationships and their articulation of it. And I think actually we'd probably benefit from, being able to do that, uh, across everyone's, seeing everyone's relationship with the divine in that way. And so
Mm.
in that light, you know, like I really value and have valued and sort of that's part of the reason I think why, like, I've felt like a peership and fellowship with Ryan as well,
Mm.
like in his, and because like the the Fae are like not a native expression for me. But everything that I hear expressed through him, I find conciliant and I'm able to 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 feel resonant with. Um, yeah. So Matthew, for thank you for your beauty, man.
Oh,
Appreciate you.
mm,
Right.
thank you. Um, I do feel like this conversation is beginning to close. I am planning on picking it back up probably next, not this coming Monday, but the Monday after. I've put that on the calendar. Unfortunately, I think Reed said he won't be able to make it, but that's the slot I have available, so that's the one I'm going to use. And I guess I would like to call for any common closing thoughts.
Uh, I'll just jump in because I have a hand up. Yeah, this is awesome. Like,
Mm.
I'm not sure I fully agree with this. This is one frame, and it's masculine. I want to address that as masculine. But I remember when I was at the University of Minnesota as a student, and I was in math class. I was a math major, and I'm just like, I think I'm like kind of a religious engineer, and I know that's a little bit haughty, but I feel like this discussion. I mean, I mean, look, you have a diagram. Like that's to me, you're engineer. We're religious engineers. Um, but it's also kind of masculine, and I think there's like an artistry there, and I think there's a yin aspect to that. I don't want to get lost to that, but I guess I'm saying I really enjoyed this, and it's all the gears are really spinning, and I really appreciate that. I think we definitely appear to be triangulating the same things in the sense like, oh, like, okay, I'm building this thing called the Enchanted Sangha. Like, what is it really? Currently it looks like I'm making a tradition. Effectively, I'm making a religion. So then, of course, the people who I'm, in community with, you guys, are also concurrently talking about what is common religion. So we are. I guess I'm appreciating that we seem to be converging independently to the same domain space, like the same frame, the same idea. So that's cool.
And I would just want to say that I would I would want to make sure to include, as this is what this model is about. It's about being the amoeba that encompasses everything. Um, I would want to include the feminine. I'm less clear on what that looks like.
I just want to throw in like, I hope I can make that next conversation because I feel like I have a lot of things I want to throw at the amoeba. I want to throw at the amoeba. And so and also receive, of course, too. So I'm very game for this, but sorry. I'm just in the group feel. I'm seeing my own narcissism and everything, but I still do have like, a lot of cool things I want to throw at the media and just come into, I don't consilience. I think that might be the right word, consilience with everyone here. But anyways, yeah, I could keep going, but I know we are wrapping up.
I want to note that my view, any conversation in regards to the common religion won't have a single icon to represent what's going on in it. So even if this icon is all inclusive and includes the feminine, like if it becomes a single icon for the whole discussion of common religion, then it's falling into a singular thing. And so for me, this means that other things besides what's being looked at here and discussed could easily be part of the discussion. But that doesn't mean that that's the appropriate use of this specific container. Like this is a container Matthew has generated. And so for me, it would be a discernment of, do I hold that discussion here or do I hold it elsewhere in terms of when we're moving forward in time? Because as far as I'm concerned, and I can come to a common agreement, G is the only thing that I will acknowledge as a placeholder for the mystery, as some formal placeholder for the mystery in the common religion. Like G is it. The rest of these are interpretations of G. That's where we're coming together, is to share our interpretations of G in such a way that it could be useful to everyone, hopefully, but not try to say this is the thing for everyone. So we want this. We're doing everything we can to uplift all with this model, and we're putting it forward to be examined and used and critiqued, et cetera, but at the same time, if the stage is larger than this, bring yours, stand on it in the ways we are. Let's see, that's part of how we experiment and test, and it's an openness. And I think from my personal vantage that's like a broad ethos of this arena is the openness to come in and stand on your own merit and be received as such.
Mind if I just throw in a couple more thoughts?
Yeah.
I know we're winding down, but for a long time, I know I'm kind of positioning myself as the fairy guy, and I enjoy that. I think that's the right direction for me to kind of express myself. But for a long time, to me, enlightenment, this might be beyond this conversation, but enlightenment was always the goal. And I liked that frame, not because it's all inclusive, but I don't know, there's that's the same thing as saying enlightenment, that realization is kind of saying recognizing G, that's kind of a way to, the purpose is coming into harmony, recognizing G, there's some, I can't quite say it, but it feels like I'm complete. Incomplete. I don't know. There's something it's maybe beyond the scope of this conversation. I don't know, but
we'll bring it back the next time. Let's keep it alive.
Yeah. Victor, do you have any other closing thoughts?
No other closing thoughts. I'm kind of waiting for the transcription to finish doing its thing so that I can just post it, provide it to you. But nope, I said what I need to. Oh, here we are. I think this is it. There.
I was hoping to post this to a YouTube channel. I can keep the link as not public, but link only. And then I was wanting to share that link as not a requirement for the next meeting, but as backstory for the next meeting. And I just wanted to make sure that was good with everybody. Perfect.
That is okay. I would extend my further approval should it come up to publish it publicly. But of course, everyone would need to sign that.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't.
Oh, sorry. I'm okay with that too. I don't feel I'm okay with that.
Cool. Well, I'm complete.
Yep.
And I'm ready to move on with the rest of my day. This has been an incredible Gosh, I've been at this for 3.5 hours, almost 4. So I really appreciate it. This has been a good time.
Yeah, this has been really serendipitous because it feels like it's scratching the itch of like
Mm.
the big picture. Like, what am I like? And I was like, am I building a religion? Like, and kind of verging to that, and then naturally, you offer this this discussion point very specific. Quite
My
so.
point of entry into this is that I'm building a personal and a common religion. You know, one foot on each path. Like uphold both. I don't want a religion that doesn't uphold the common religion. I don't want a common religion that doesn't uphold my personal religion. So I got to work in both fields to really bring it to life. That's an endorsement of the Sacred Heart and of Jesus as their own separate entities.
Okay, guys, I'm all good. Thank you all so much for your time.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye bye.
Bye.